curves. So we're going to start off with our mesh here. As you can see, it's way too dense for topology. We need to actually just remesh it, because if we make hair with this high of a density, our hair, when we subdivide the hair or smooth it out, it's going to be really dense really fast. They have a lot of topology in them to support their curvature, and because of that, if we subdivide them, we can easily go into the millions, you know, doing just maybe one or two, even three subdivisions based on how dense the hair or fur we do. So I'm just going to go down to zBrush here. We'll just drop it to, 5, whatever. Adaptive size down, curve strength, whatever. Just zBrush it. So perfect. We have far lesser topology. This will allow the curves to kind of take on the same count roughly and not be as dense as where we need to. This will help a lot with retopology phase later too. We can make the curves already have that kind of low topology and topology needed for the curves alone, and that way we can just subdivide them for the high poly and then remove those subdivisions later for the low poly, and boom, we got instant retopologized hair or fur. So I'm going to open up my curve tubes, or this example we can use the hairbrush. I believe I sent it over in the 3D chat another time, but we'll just go and use the curve tubes for now. You're going to need your stroke menu open. You can either get this from up here. I have mine pinned over here, but just because I use it so much, it makes it so much easier. We're going to hold down shift and open our curve and curve modifiers. We need both of these here. Yours should look something like this when you open it up right here without all these settings. We're going to start with the curve, and we want bend start and lock start. What this is it's going to allow us to bend the start of the curve or rotate it, and lock start will lock it in position. A good way if you want more details is to hold down control when you hover over something, and it will give more details on what you're doing. The curve function, we mainly need size and fall off. You may have intensity set and size not set, just flip them. And then for the fall off, we're going to flip it vertically with this little guy down here. Move this guy up, and essentially we're just creating a taper of a curve here. This way it kind of starts off thick and then tapers into something thin. You don't want to set it too far back, otherwise you're going to get really thin hairs. I like to do about here, for some nice chunky hair. And yeah, so we'll start now with our curves, and we could just simply do this. You want a nice decent size brush. Remember, your size, you want to typically go bigger than the curve you're actually trying to do. So this will get us like probably a curve the size of his body. I like to imagine that the inner circle is the size of the curve that will come out. I don't know if that's true, so don't quote me on it. It's just what I like to imagine when I'm doing these, and it makes it so much easier. So let's start by giving our guys some curves. So we're going to come out, draw, boom, done. We got some curves. Now that came out a little too big for my liking, so I'm going to reduce my brush size. And if we click on the line after reducing our brush size, or one of the circles I believe, it should reduce it back down. Boom, done. So you see how we did this kind of curve? We can straighten these out if we click anywhere on like the red and black lines and just kind of drag it along the line, and boom, we got straight curves if we need them. And since we locked that start, we can't pull it out, it stays there. However, if we need to move it, we can take that circle, click it, and drag it where we need to. And that way we can kind of just even embed it in there to make it look like hair roots. And then we'll take this guy close to here, bring it out front maybe, drag it down, kind of just get it in position. We can take this guy and curl it up. You know, we kind of got tusks here almost even. You know, typically you want to just lead the curve and let the rest follow for a nice smooth curve. And it's very flexible when you do it this way. You know, it's very forgiving. So you can just kind of bend them down and get that nice shape going, or that nice curvature going. If you want to rotate a curve, or you need to tilt or adjust the axis of it, if you click anywhere along the curve and hold Control key, you can start rotating the curve, you know, even so much that you can twist it into a ball joint or something like that, and, you know, create something neat there. I will say though, if you move the curve after you've rotated, it will start to undo the rotation. As you can see here, I quickly undid the rotations there. So try to save them for last if you can, and you'll get the best results that way. If you don't want to rotate just a single piece of the curve, come up to the base circle or one of the two circles, hold down the Control key after you click it, and you'll start to see that, okay, you can rotate the whole thing that way. Good for if you got like a hairbrush or hair tubes, things like that. And then lastly, say we're good to go with our curve. We got it, you know, generally where we want to. We can just click anywhere outside of this mesh or outside the curve on the mesh. You can't click the empty space. It won't really do much of anything. It might register, but you really should click on the mesh. And we'll click on the mesh, and boom, done. We have a curve. It's already got its own group and everything. You know, we can mess around about with it, and then we'll just keep doing the same for, you know, more curves, or more fur, I guess, if you want. However much fur you want to do, you put on. You know, I will say this, I tend to embed them in the body when doing fur or hair, and then I'll just kind of arch it out, so that way it kind of creates that root out of the body. And then we'll just make this one a little smaller. And yeah, they can be a little fiddly, but honestly, it's so much easier and less time than dealing with, say, blender curves, rotating those little gizmos over and over. You know, this makes it so much easier. Just click that. If you happen to be having issues with the curve to the point where it wants to, it's like sticking to things, or it's just instantly gluing to the meshes, you want to take off this snap. You know, you probably have snap on, and you just want to basically just uncheck it here. I will say, when you're drawing the curve, if you draw it from one mesh and onto the space of another, it will not draw it in the free space, it will draw it to that mesh below. So it will look like it's snapping, but even if it's off. One more quick thing I'll show you here real quick too before we move on is we can adjust the length of a curve if we need to. You know, say we made this one too long, you know, this one needs to be short little horns or whatever. You know, we could fix that. That's very easily done with the elastic tool. So as you see here, we have an elastic button over here. We'll just click it, and as we move points back closer together, it will start to shrink, and that way we can just kind of really fix that height or length to it. Once you're done with it, don't forget to turn it off, you know, before you ruin your curve, and boom, I can now move it freely without worrying about stretching it out or whatever. And perfect, I got my horns. Remove your mask, and you got everything you need. And each with their own different subgroup or polygroup. And then we could just simply subdivide them from here to get that nice smooth finish that you'll see, you know, in other sculpts and things like that. I'll go ahead and remove these. And then say you're doing a hair for a character, one way to do it is to create a scalp from a character and then create the curves, which then say, you want to keep that scalp, or you don't want to, retopologize it or whatever. You can then just come here, hide it, split hidden, and boom. Now we have all our curves on a separate subtool. We can, adjust the backs if we need to, or play with them, or do whatever. But essentially, you're done here. If you want to adjust any other curves, or like you need to adjust them, unfortunately, once you click off that curve line and onto the mesh, it's done. It's now just a plain mesh. You can't readjust that curve and go back. So, be careful with your curves. Be more methodical. Just, focus on what you need first before making any final changes. And of course, you can always just Control Z. So, hope this helps with the curves on ZBrush. I think once you start using them this way, you'll find that they're very easy to use and very fun. So, yeah, happy ZBrushing.